Hello and welcome to Drishti IAS. My name is Saloni Nankulier and today marks the 50-year anniversary of 1975's emergency. In this video, we will discuss what emergency is all about and also what was so dark about the emergency of 1975. So the state government of Maharashtra is honoring MISA or DIR detainees. What is MISA or DIR? So MISA is the Maintenance of Internal Security Act and DIR is the Defense of India rules. So both these laws came into picture during the 1975 emergency and they basically allowed the government to detain people without proper trial. So the government has identified 502 individuals who are eligible for this recognition, and last year the central government also declared that every year 25th of June will be mourned as the Samvidhan Hatya Divas, or a day when our constitution died. Why? Because 1975 emergency is believed to go against the basic tenets of democracy which are enshrined in our constitution. So it was declared that every year on 25th of June, we will mourn this day as the day when our constitution died. Now let us look at what emergency is. So as per the Constitution of India, emergency is a situation when the normal functioning of our government cannot happen due to a grave threat to the security, integrity, or financial stability of the complete country or a part thereof. And based on this has been divided into three types of emergency. So first is the national emergency, which is applicable on complete India. Then we have state emergency or president's rule, which is applicable only to that particular state, and the financial emergency, which again is applicable to the complete Indian territory. And what are the constitutional provisions? So the constitutional provisions are mentioned in part 18 of the Constitution. There are three critical articles that deal with emergency provisions. One is Article 352 that deals with the national emergency. So national emergency can be invoked on three grounds. One is war, then external aggression, and three, armed rebellion. So armed rebellion was added by 44th Constitutional Amendment Act. Before armed rebellion, we had internal disturbance as a reason for invoking Article 352. And in fact, internal disturbance was the reason that Prime Minister Indira Gandhi cited when she invoked national emergency in 1975. So this is applicable to the complete country, complete Indian territory. Second article we have is Article 356 or the President's Rule. So this is invoked when there is a failure to comply with the constitutional machinery. So when the governor feels that the constitutional machinery in the state is not functioning properly, or the president can also take suo motu cognizance of this matter. So either the governor can give a report to the president saying that the machinery has failed, or the president can also take the matter in his own hands and declare president's rule, where the executive, the state executive, which is the chief minister and the council of ministers, will be suspended and the matter will be taken by the president in his own hands. So he will act as the executive. He will take all the executive decisions either through the governor or any other appointed authority. So this is what is given in Article 356. Then we have Article 365 also. So 365 is not an article which directly invokes any emergency, but 365 talks about the failure to comply with the directions given by the center, and the center can use this as a justification to trigger national emergency or to trigger president's rule under Article 356. Then we have Article 360, which takes care of financial emergency. So this is a situation of grave financial instability in the country. This is also applicable to the entire Indian territory. And Article 358 and 359, they talk about the suspension of Articles 19 and 21 during national emergency. So before 44th Constitutional Amendment Act, both 19 and 21, which is the freedom of speech and expression, and 21 is right to life and personal liberty, both were automatically suspended as soon as Article 352 came into picture. But because Article 21 is so important as a basic human right that everybody enjoys, so that was the reason that 21 was taken out from this ambit, and now only Article 19 is automatically suspended when Article 352 comes into picture. Now let us look at a comparative study, a comparative table of all these three articles. You can also take a screenshot of this. Now, Article 352 can be declared on 3 grounds. I already told you: war, external aggression, and armed rebellion. Scope is whole or part of India, declared by the President of India on the written recommendation of the Union Cabinet. This was added by the 44th Constitutional Amendment Act. A lot of things were added by the 44th Constitutional Amendment Act. We will deal with that later also. But during the time of emergency of 1975, no such rule was there into picture, and that is the reason that the president directly could automatically declare Article 352's national emergency. No written recommendation by the cabinet was required. Now, after 44th Amendment Act, there is a written advice that is required, and once the emergency is declared by the president, it has to be approved by the parliament within 30 days or 1 month. This was also added by the 44th Amendment. So it can be renewed also. It can be renewed for indefinite number of times every 6 months by the parliament, and the majority needed to renew this is special majority. Special majority, 2/3 of the members present and voting plus 50% plus 1 of the capacity of the house. Special majority is required for renewal. Article 19 is automatically suspended. Earlier 21 could also be suspended. Post 44th Constitutional Amendment Act, only 19 can be suspended. Effect on the state government: center can legislate on state subjects. This tells us that during the times of emergency, we become unitary in nature. India is quasi-federal. We have state list, we have center list, we have the concurrent list, and we have different subjects under these lists. But during the time of emergency, we become unitary in nature, where the center can also legislate on state subjects. And how can this be revoked? This can be revoked by the president at any time. No parliamentary approval is required. For renewal, parliamentary approval is required, but for revocation, no parliamentary approval is required. Article 356 is the failure of constitutional machinery in a state. It is applied only to that particular state declared by the President of India, and there were 2 grounds. One, if there is a report by the governor of that state, or the president can also take a suo motu cognizance. This also needs to be approved by the parliament within 2 months. It can be renewed every 6 months, but not for an indefinite period of time. A maximum of 3 years only, and with conditions. The majority that is required for renewal here is simple majority, present and voting. Effect on fundamental rights: no effect directly. So under Article 352, 19 is automatically suspended, but during any other type of emergency, no fundamental right is automatically suspended. Effect on the state government: the president assumes state functions because the state executive, which was the chief minister and the council of ministers, they are suspended. So the president acts as the executive here, so he can take his decisions either through the governor or through any other appointed authority. It can be revoked by the president at any time, or even if the Lok Sabha disapproves, because for renewal you require Lok Sabha's approval. So if at that time the Lok Sabha disapproves of it, at that time also it will be revoked. Then we have Article 360, which comes into picture when there is a threat to financial stability or credit of India. Now this is also applicable to the complete territory. It is declared by the President of India, so no confusions here. All types of emergencies are declared by the President of India only. Here it is only declared on the satisfaction of the president. So in Article 352, you require a written consent by the Union Cabinet. In Article 356, either a report by the governor or the president can also take action suo motu. But in Article 360, it is solely at the discretion of the president, at the satisfaction of the president, when he feels that a situation has arisen where the financial stability of the country is under grave threat. That is the time he invokes Article 360 or financial emergency. This needs to be approved by the parliament within 2 months, and it can be renewed every 6 months. Majority that is required is simple majority, present and voting. Again, there is no direct effect on the fundamental rights, and the center can give directions for finances like salary cuts, pension cuts. All these directions can be given by the center to the state. And this can be revoked by the president at any time. So these are the types of emergencies. So to understand what happened in 1975, we will have to go back to the time when Indira Gandhi came to power. In 1966, she came to power. 1967, we had the Golaknath case, where Indira Gandhi and Supreme Court were at loggerheads with each other. 1969, we had bank nationalization, where 14 private banks were identified and nationalized, and it naturally did not sit well with the capitalists of that time. And because of all these things, there was a huge inflation in the economy. The food and fuel prices were very, very high, and all these things led to public discontent. Also, there were mass uprisings like Nav Nirman Andolan in Gujarat, and Total Revolution or Sampurna Kranti in Bihar. These were mostly student-led organizations, student-led movements, and in the Nav Nirman Andolan, something that started just as a protest against the food prices hike in hostels. It grew on a state level as the corruption charges against the then Chief Minister of Gujarat, Chimanbhai Patel, were very high. So all these things led to a discontent, a huge discontent in the public. And in the backdrop of all this, there were powerful slogans that Indira Gandhi had given for herself, that Indira is India and India is Indira. So these things were not sitting well with each other. They were contradictory in nature. And something else happened in 1971. That was the general elections of 1971, where Indira Gandhi contested from Rai Bareli. Her opponent was Raj Narayan. So she won the elections, but Raj Narayan contested this victory in the Allahabad High Court, and he said that Indira Gandhi had misused government funds, government resources, and also government employees. So when the verdict of Allahabad High Court came in on 12th of June 1975, the verdict was against Indira Gandhi and in the favor of Raj Narayan. So Allahabad High Court said that the victory of Indira Gandhi has to be declared null and void, and she cannot hold any constitutional positions, and she is barred from contesting elections for the next 6 years. So this came as a blow to Indira Gandhi, and she was naturally not happy with this decision. Then Supreme Court on 24th of June 1975, it granted a conditional stay on the verdict, but that also, Supreme Court also mentioned that she can just continue to be the MP, but she will have to vacate her seat as the Prime Minister, and she'll have to look for a political successor. So this is what was happening in June 1975, and based on all these things, on the series of things, the loggerheads that she had been with the judiciary, the mass discontent, the inflation, the problem with the capitalists, all these things were happening in the background. And in 1975, on 25th of June, emergency was declared by the president, because at that time no union cabinet approval was required. It was directly declared by the president, announced by Indira Gandhi. And then we saw 21 months of constitutional suspension, because the press was censored automatically. The electricity was shut down for the entire, or for all media houses, and no newspapers were printed. So press censorship was very debatable, that happened at that time. And this emergency continued for 21 months. It ended on 23rd of March 1977. And what happened after that? There were some controversial laws that she passed during 1975, which were MISA, DIR, and COFPOSA. MISA is Maintenance of Internal Security Act, DIR Defense of India Regulations, and COFPOSA talked about the conservation of foreign exchange and prevention of smuggling activities. So all these things allowed the government to detain individuals, to detain people without proper trial, without proper arrest warrants or reasons, and especially the political party opposition leaders. They were forcibly taken from their homes and they were put into jails. They were put behind the bars. So there was a grave discontent among people, because these political leaders, they were only showing their dissent to the decisions taken by the then parliament, but they were put behind the bars. So all these things were happening under these acts, and then a series of constitutional amendments, some debatable constitutional amendments were passed, like 39th to 42nd. So in 39, we talked about providing judicial immunity to the elections of president, prime minister, vice president, and the speaker of Lok Sabha. Because if you recall what happened in 1971, when Raj Narayan contested the victory of Indira Gandhi, Allahabad High Court ruled against Indira Gandhi. So to protect herself and her party from any future such rulings, under the 39th Constitutional Amendment Act, the election of all these constitutional bodies was made immune from judicial review. Then under 40, a lot more laws were placed under the 9th schedule. So 9th schedule also has those laws which are free from judicial review. Under 41st, Under 41st, it was mentioned that the president or the governor of states, they cannot be challenged, their decisions cannot be challenged, or the criminal proceedings cannot happen for any of these people even after their tenure ends. So it provided judicial immunization again to these constitutional posts. And 42nd was a mini constitution. It was a mini constitution. A lot of things happened in the 42nd constitution. Some keywords were added in our preamble, which are SSI, socialist, secular, and integrity. And then there was also weaponization of these laws, because of these laws only selective people were being arrested, only the opposition leaders were being arrested. Then there was another debatable thing that happened, which was mass sterilization. Mass sterilization was led by Sanjay Gandhi, who was the son of Indira Gandhi. Now he forcibly, he forced people, he forced the males to get sterilization done for population control under his family planning program. So these sterilizations led to the death of a lot of people. So all types of male, young, old, married, unmarried, everybody, they were basically forcibly picked up from the streets and went to the hospital, like taken to the hospitals for sterilization programs, because he was working under targets. He had given targets to district collectors and hospitals and doctors that they have to complete these many sterilizations in a month, in a year. So these types of targets led to senseless sterilization of people, forcible sterilization of people under unhygienic situations also. And because of this, a lot of people lost their lives. And naturally, because of this, there was a lot of hatred against Sanjay Gandhi, against Indira Gandhi, against the entire Congress regime. And there was executive overreach in judiciary management also. So for a person to be appointed as a Chief Justice of India, usually by convention, the senior most judge of the Supreme Court is appointed as the CJI. But during the time of emergency, when Indira Gandhi was there, she favored her favorite candidates. She did not let the senior most judge of the Supreme Court be appointed as CJI. Instead, she favored her candidate and appointed that person as the CJI. So this thing, there was also an executive overreach in judiciary management. All these things led to a huge discontent and a huge anti-Congress sentiment amongst people. And because of this, in the general election of 1977, Congress lost. Congress lost. Both Indira Gandhi and Sanjay Gandhi, they lost their seats. And for the first time, we got a non-Congress Prime Minister, who was Morarji Desai. Janata Party, it won with a historic mandate, and the 44th Constitutional Amendment Act was passed. Some inquiries and commissions also came into picture after this to take care of the human right violations and police excesses, like the Tarkunde Commission, Bhargav Commission, and Shah Commission. So Tarkunde Commission came into picture specially to take care of, to inquire into the human right violations and police excess during the time of emergency, because 2 students had lost their life while protesting against the government. Then in Bhargav Commission, allegations of forced sterilization and excesses during family planning program had to be inquired upon. So this was against Sanjay Gandhi. And Shah Commission was the most important commission that was formed after emergency of 1975. It was very holistic in nature because it took care of all forms of issues that were into picture in 1975, like all types of corruptions, all types of sterilization programs, allegations, police atrocities, and police excesses, human right violations. It took care of everything. And in the 44th Constitutional Amendment Act, what did the Janata Party do? So it replaced internal disturbance with armed rebellion. We already discussed this. It made Article 21 non-suspendable. It required the written advice of cabinet for declaring emergency, limited duration and reapproval process for emergency, and weakening of the Congress monopoly, because for the first time we had a non-Congress Prime Minister as our leader, and this gave rise to the multi-party democracy. Citizens also became more sensitive to rights violations and misuse of state power to protect all these things from any sort of atrocities, because our constitution, our government, it works on 3 pillars: the legislative, executive, and judiciary, and there has to be a system of checks and balances so that every pillar of democracy can function effectively. So that was all for today's video. We discussed what emergency is, the types of emergency, and what triggered the emergency of 1975. I hope you found the discussion helpful. Now let us answer this question for prelims. Consider the following statements regarding national emergency under Article 352 of the Constitution. 1. The term internal disturbance was replaced with armed rebellion by the 44th Constitutional Amendment Act. 2. During a national emergency, the Parliament can make laws on subjects in the state list. 3. Fundamental rights under Article 21 can be suspended during a national emergency declared due to war or external aggression. And 4. National emergency can be declared only on the written advice of the Council of Ministers to the President. Which of the statements is or are correct? A. 1, 2 and 4 only. B. 2 and 3 only. C. 1 and 4 only. D. 4 only. So that was all for today's video. Thank you for watching. Until we meet the next time, please keep studying and keep revising.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.